All right, 40 days through the Bible, day 3. This was Exodus 1 through chapter 18. This is the story from Moses' birth through the Israelites' safe passage through the Red Sea and the destruction of the Egyptian army that was attempting to follow them. The thing that stood out the most to me in this actually started a week or so ago when I was having a conversation with one of my brothers, and it was this idea of Moses' staff. And if the question that I posed was, could Moses have used any staff, or was his important, right? And it was based on this discussion that we were having about how things matter, right? All things are matter, and things do matter. Things are matter and things do matter, right? Because matter, if you believe in a Christian worldview, right, all matter came from God speaking, right? God spoke and everything came into existence. And so matter exists as the reverberations of God's words, right? And so how you handle matter is really, in one sense, it is a reflection of how you handle the words of God, okay? So the question that I had was like, well, does this staff, could it have been anybody's staff, or could it have been any staff, or was it the actual staff itself that mattered? So then I got to go through and reread this whole section of the story today, and it was so cool to see at the burning bush when the Lord commissioned Moses. One of the things that he says is he said, "But take this staff in your hand so you can perform the signs with it." And later it says that Moses took the staff of God in his hands. And then as the plagues are being performed and being doled out to the Egyptians, almost every single command that God gives in all of these is to throw down the staff, to stretch out the staff, to raise the staff, to strike something with the staff. And one of the interesting things that I had never seen before was that for a lot of the beginning miracles, it was the Lord instructing Moses and Moses telling Aaron to do the thing. So like in my head, I always pictured like Moses throwing down his staff and it becomes a snake, right? But in actuality, the Lord commanded Moses to command Aaron to do that. And so a bunch of the early plagues, what was fascinating is like Aaron threw down his staff in front of Pharaoh and it became a snake. And then Aaron stretched out his hand over the waters of Egypt and the frogs came up and covered the land. And so it was interesting to me. I'd never really seen or appreciated the dynamic between Moses and Aaron, and how God says, "I will make you like God to Pharaoh, and your brother Aaron will be your prophet." I just never paid that much attention to it. Like I always knew Aaron was there, and it's like, oh yeah, Moses was like, "Hey, can Aaron speak for me?" And then yeah, like I don't know, but it's like, no, he was there. He was a very big deal, a very big part of the whole deal. But it was fascinating to have this view, looking for the staff and seeing when Moses was commissioned at the burning bush that God directed him to take this staff of the Lord, and he took the staff of the Lord, and then that staff is the thing that God used to do all of these miracles. And then even after they were out in the wilderness, or after they had escaped Egypt, Moses raised his staff out over the Red Sea, and that's what started the wind to blow across and separate the waters. And then later on, when they came to Rephidim, the people were thirsty, and the Lord told Moses, "Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand before you at the rock of Horeb, strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." And is just such a cool thing that I had just never noticed before, or never thought about before, is that this staff is the tool that God used to do these things, right? And it's like, well, it wasn't the staff that did it, it was Moses that did it, but it wasn't Moses that did it was God that did it. It's like, ultimately, yes, the answer is that it was God that did it, but God worked through Moses, and then even more importantly, that through Moses's staff. And it's just this idea of things matter. How you handle things matter. How you treat things matter. How you build things matter. Things are matter, so things do matter. If matter is the reverberations of the Word of God, then things and how you handle things is a reflection of how you handle the Word of God. And that idea just like it's just blowing my mind, right? And it was just cool to see this emphasis that God had from the very commissioning of, this is the staff of God that you will use to perform these miracles, to seeing that played out all the way through all of the trials, through the escape and the parting of the Red Sea and the provision in the wilderness, all of these things. And it just makes me, I've been on a real kick for a couple of years now of just caring more about quality and caring more about the things that I have and caring more about about how I have the things that I have, would be a good way of saying that. And this just reaffirms a lot of that. And I love that idea. Things are matter and things do matter, because matter is the reverberations of the word of the Lord when he spoke all creation into existence. And so how you handle these things is a reflection of how you steward and how you care for and how you view the word of the Lord. So yeah, I could go on about that a lot. That idea just absolutely fascinates me. But that's what I want to talk about from this one. And yeah, I think that's all I got for this one. So I'll see you in the next one.